A bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
You could say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up.
Welcome, everybody. This is Team Rabbit Hole edition 295 with Claudia Freedom in life. Entrepreneur, mentor, Swede, Sagittarius. Join the team as you get to know Claudia, a free-spirited traveler currently in Tulum, making the truth of her experience known, one purified sip at a time. Welcome and well met, Claudia.
Thank you.
Hopefully you enjoyed some of that wordplay there. So in the Team Rabbit Hole podcast is 295, I guess. What we do is add those numbers up, and it's going to be 2 plus 9, or 2 plus 5 is 7, 9 plus 7 is whatever, 14, 15, 16, but that turns into 7. So this episode is the 7 card, the Chariot card, which is about travel, ironically. I am confident that with discipline, I will succeed. The Chariot card is about taking charge of your own destiny, seizing the moment, letting the momentum carry you forward, finishing what you set into motion. Do not hesitate. You can do this. Raphael, what card are you going to pull?
That's a good one. So we got the 10 of Swords.
Oh boy.
In tarot numerology, that's the 36-9. I don't know, Claudia, how much you're into tarot. Of course, here the attributions, in a Crowleyan sense, they can be quite one-sided. So here it says incapacity, negativity, inefficacy, tears, affliction, grief, sorrow. However, it's like one of those words like, oh my God. But I think the positive version is like in the Rider-Waite card, you have the man lying on the beach, with 10 swords in his back. And the waves, I guess, the flood is coming again. And so seen from a higher perspective, it is simply the continuous birth and rebirth and death and recycling of ideas, which eventually must be absorbed by the larger unconscious, the sea again. So I think it's a great place to be in.
It's actually a Gemini card. You're a Sagittarius, but your North Node, which is like your karma, is conjunct my moon exactly at 15 degrees Gemini. And I'm pretty sure that would be close to... Point is, that card is a Gemini card. So you don't have to overthink this, but between the Chariot card, which is about travel and getting things done once you start rolling, once the cart is going downhill, it's like, get on the cart, here we go. Toboggan style, like bobsled. And then his 10 of Swords is almost like you have taken a lot of ideas, like you've taken certain things to a certain point, and now you have to essentially evolve mentally or die. And I think you're kind of at a place, ironically, in the beach where you have chosen a new lifestyle, a new way of thinking, and you've chosen a new method of being. Anyway, any synchronicities or anything like that for those 2 cards for you?
If not, that just sounds like my life right now. Like travel and what I'm going through feels like a big metamorphosis. Like I'm actually in a place in my life where I just told another friend yesterday, like when I was asked what I'm doing, I'm like, I actually feel like I'm never working anymore. And it kind of like freaks me out a little bit because I'm moving into a field where I feel like I'm just talking with amazing people all of the time. And I'm talking about things that actually really matter. It never feels like I'm working. And so
it's kind of an alien mindset for you.
Like I'm just spreading value and co-creating value with other people, and that's my work, but it doesn't feel like work because that's what I love to do anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
well, it's funny, like I said, you're I mean, I'm not going to say everything about your chart, but basically you have mostly Sagittarius and Libra placements, heavily so, in an 8th house, 7th house. But the point is, your North Node, like I was saying, your karma is to basically play. So the more playful it feels, the more open and free you feel, like a kid in the ice cream store on Christmas Eve or whatever the hell you want to say. You're in the right direction. If you're going more, ironically, if you're going towards like this is the truth and I'm on a crusade and I have to, if you don't convert, I'm going to kill you, you infidel. That's more the Sagittarius kind of shadow, where it's like convert or die to my truth. So in a sense, you're a Sagittarius learning how to go the opposite way. It might feel weird because you have convictions, deep convictions about how, like, what is true and righteous. But then it's like, don't take it too seriously. Flow like water. Because if you don't, you'll just be iceberg in the Titanic of everybody else's lives, I guess. So
Oh my God.
I don't know how I stumbled upon you. We've been Facebook friends for maybe a couple years. It's just the nature of my reality to kind of acquire interesting people and eventually try to get them on here. And I've talked to you privately a few times, but nothing crazy. I think I've given you a tarot reading once and looked at your chart briefly, but we've never really talked. So aloha officially. And yeah, I don't know you personally. So, but it was kind of like one of these lives that was like, it's like a shooting star where it's like, holy shit, there's a lot going on here. I don't know where you're coming from and I don't know where you're going, but it's like bright and interesting. So, tell us a little about where you're coming from. I know you're from near Stockholm, I think, or Sweden in general. What kind of culture did you grow up in? Yeah. Like were you raised religious or not? Like what was your way of thinking? Are you the oldest sibling? That kind of stuff. Give us a context of like your roots, and then we can kind of go from there.
All right. Yeah, so I'm from Sweden, and I'm the older sister. I have a brother, and I was born like in a small town in Sweden, where it
Like
was
how
kind of
small?
like how small?
Like
Oh my
1,000
God,
people small, or
no, like 7,000, I believe. It's
oh, that's
still
pretty small.
yeah, it's still very small. Most people know each other, and it kind of felt like I never really fit in. I was like a little bit of the weird kid. I love to go into the woods and talk with the trees and the animals, stuff like that, you know. And I was when I was younger, guess I was raised Catholic, but that was something that I kind of like, both me and my whole family, we kind of like got out of the church. And then later on in my life, I kind of like, it's ironical because I don't see myself as Christian, but I found Jesus. So it's like, I believe in
Hold on.
God.
Let's talk about this for a second. So your family is raised in it's like in Switzerland. I lived there for a while, and they had cantons or like provinces that were like, this is a Catholic canton, this is a Protestant canton. So it was like the cultural at large. And I know the Northern Europeans, I mean, aside from paganism originally, were largely converted in basically the 1600s. So you're saying that your family was kind of culturally Catholic. Maybe they showed up to mass on Christmas or something like that. And then at some point, or maybe even every Sunday, who knows? But at some point, your parents, as well as the kids, were kind of just like, "This isn't vibing.
Let's get
Let's
out.
just dip." So, are they atheistic or are they agnostic, or where do they go with that? It's an interesting shift.
I can't really speak for them, but I think they're pretty atheist, but not sure fully
Okay.
like how
So you kind of
reason.
you guys ejected out of the religious camp, but then you say you still found Jesus. What does that mean to you? Because I don't think you count yourself as a Christian, quote unquote.
Right, I don't. Like, I'm very open to all kind of religions, but I don't see myself as religious, but very spiritual. So I kind of like find truths here and there in different religions. And I think, in my opinion, that all of religions are pointing towards the same thing, like goodness and love, and living a life in alignment with what is good and prosperous for everyone, right? So how we get there I think it's different from each individual. But for me, it was kind of like it was Jesus coming to me, like he was showing him or itself to me. But then,
were you sober?
I was sober. Yeah.
Okay, just checking. I don't know. We all do drugs here.
You never know, right?
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, I was sober. It was actually this. I would think that she was not sober. I saw this woman in the city of Gothenburg. She was sitting on a bench, in the crowd of people moving around. And there was this one woman, and I just felt her really strongly, and I decided to just go towards her. And we were smiling towards each other. It was like this, like a special moment happening there in space and time. And we started talking, and then she said, like, you know that God sees you as one of his like sharpest people when it comes to speaking the truth. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds beautiful. And then she said, then Jesus is sitting here beside you. And I was like, I was feeling like I was gonna roll my eyes,
Right.
back.
Sure.
So I was like, damn, no. So I decided to close my eyes because I didn't want to kind of like be mean or anything by rolling my eyes. So I just closed them and turned my head to the side. And then I saw this super bright, brilliant light in the shape of a human kind of there. And I was like, okay, she's not lying.
Yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah, it was interesting, but that is like such a long story, and I don't think we should go in there too deeply.
Well, to skim it a little. So basically, it was an archetypal. I mean, it sounds like at least a high. Dude, you have a 8th house, which is Scorpio flavored. Uranus, Jupiter, Mercury in Sag. It's like you could see through the veil. You're psychic, and you definitely are like a you find the truth, the transformative, powerful truth in any kind of idea. So it doesn't matter what religion or political whatever. In a sense, you don't care about that. You find the gold, and you're like, everything else can kind of melt. I found the gold. So I'm just curious because I've had I astral projected once without even meaning to. I don't have to get into it, but basically created the conditions over a few weeks to stress my body out and secrete, I think, DMT naturally, basically. So and I met Jesus in the astral, and it wasn't really what I was thinking. So it's funny that you're saying you had a kind of a mystical experience because I can't. Sometimes I'm like, is this archetypal, like where you're kind of like vibing in a certain way, and your mental processes are projecting a certain energy of, she said something and you're thinking it, and then you're obviously a kind of a portal, if you want to put it that way. So if your imagination goes into a certain direction, you're going to maybe manifest that archetype. Is a weird way to put it. Did you think it was true in other, like Christ is here, or were you like, oh, she mentioned the code and now I'm seeing the code more?
I don't know, but I've seen Jesus several times.
Not a one-shot deal. Okay.
It was not a one shot. Like I've seen Jesus in like deep meditations. So I've had a pretty rough life with like some emotional and mental abuse and stuff like that. So I had some really, really tough things that I was going through in my being. And I remember when I was like meditating and I was crying and I was kind of like just wishing for some support. And I actually saw Jesus in my meditation, and he was holding me and asking me to tell him like in detail why I am so sad. Really, like, what is it that hurts? And I was telling like my story of what's happened and why it hurts so bad. And he said, thank you so much for sharing. And I know that there is a little bit left, like deep down there, like where the thorn is, like the point of the thorn. And I was so like not willing to really go in there and share it, but I did. And ever since then, I have no memory of what it was.
That's awesome. I mean,
So
sometimes with pagans and stuff,
it just went away, and I have no idea what it was anymore. How much
that's
I
good.
even tried to remember. So that was.
So it's like a reverse. It's like a reverse memory implant. You had it.
Yeah,
expunged.
it was like. Yeah.
With sometimes with pagans and stuff, because I mean, I was raised Christian. I've had a lot of Christian flavors things. I would probably defend it intellectually. I guess I'm agnostic Christian-ish, but New Age, whatever. Like it's too complicated to nail down in one thing. But when I come to Christians, I'm like, you realize, like, occultism and witchcraft, like all the stuff they're afraid of has truth to it. They're just afraid to look in that like the Pandora's box. And then to pagans, I'm like, you got like. Jesus is probably like the philosopher's stone or something like that in alchemy, where it's like this thing can transmute. This is like the transmutive power of grace and love, essentially the highest good. because these are all archetypes. I mean, if you're going to have the highest good, you're going to have the worst bad, which is the devil, or that kind of stuff. So anyway, I think it's we don't have to hang out on this too long. I was just curious because you don't strike me as religious per se. You're very spiritual, but the fact that these experiences had a certain flavor and they weren't just one-offs is intriguing, to say the least. Anyway, so you had been raised Christian, but that kind of fell apart, and then you found your own kind of path with spirit, if you want to put it that way, on your own.
Yeah.
What did your high school days? I mean, were you partying? Were you a good student? What were your interests? Were you like, I want to see the world, or were you kind of like, tell me about your high school and college era?
High school and college, you have to help me understand these terms.
Okay, so when you were about 15 to 20, I think you were getting into partying more, maybe psychedelics. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Okay.
No
See, I don't know.
psychedelics, no drugs at all. I did go out to dance. Like that was one of my absolute favorite things to do. Like if
Right.
there was a
Still,
dance.
might I add, I've seen you go out to clubs and stuff sober, and you're like, I'm dancing.
Yeah,
having
I
a good time.
love dancing. Like dancing is my primary language, and then we have Swedish is my secondary language, and then we have English, which is my third language. But dancing and body language is my primary language. So yeah, this is something that I really wanted to do, but I didn't need to, I didn't have to drink a lot or anything. Like for me, the most important thing was actually the music and the dance. So I went actually to Gothenburg once. And I started like I was like 18 or something, going to the party out there where all the lasers and the boom boom were going, like full on. It was so good. And after that, I decided that after whatever it is, high school or something, I decided to go to college in Gothenburg. A lot because I loved the music scene, the dance scene over there.
So was it like mostly electronic music?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So like raves. All right, so you decided to go to school.
And I went into the rave scene. Yeah, so I've been in the rave scene, DJing for several years, and now I'm getting back to it here in Tulum after having like a break, maybe 2-3 years break of playing music because I've changed my vibe.
Correct. You're not who you were.
Yeah. What?
You're not who you once were, so it's kind of disingenuous in a sense to keep trying to play the same party tracks. It's like you want to create the energy and the magic of where you are now, but that takes a little while for our minds to catch up and our bodies and culture and everything. Doesn't surprise. I mean, once you get bit by like dance and like psychedelics to a point, but music, I'm a musician. It's the best drug there ever is. Beethoven said, music is the highest revelation to man. It's like it is the structure of reality in a way. I mean, if it's in harmony, it's working. If it's not, it's still like grunge, gothic music or whatever. All things are music. Anyway, so what did you go to college for, or university, or whatever you want to call it?
So I tried molecular biology for a year.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was really not my thing, huh?
No, I'm looking at. No, did you think that? What inspired you towards that end? Were you like, I want to help solve problems in science, or like what was the inspiration?
Yeah, I think it has to do with I want to do good in people's lives when it comes to health, and which is super awesome because now I'm actually doing that through the water. And but like when I went to study that, it was so weird because it was mostly like just reading, and when it was anything practical, it was bizarre things. They wanted us to do tests on dead animals and stuff like that, and it just like it was like a big for me.
So it was a mistake in a sense. You're like, no, thank you.
It was a big mistake, and I just went out.
So did you drop out?
No, I quit. I just quit after 1 year.
You dropped out. Yeah.
I dropped out. I was like, no, I'm not gonna waste 2 more years. I already wasted 1. Like.
So at that point, what was the what was the hustle? What was your? I mean, I think at that point you're probably not living at home. You're in Gothenburg or wherever you were saying. You leave the school, which is kind of security, but like at least structure. What happened?
Yeah. So what happened? I started to kind of like, I tried to find my way, but it was like, it was pretty weird because that's the part of my life where I started going into my depressions and stuff like that. So for the ones who know me, they know that I've been struggling with bipolar disorder. And
I was gonna say, with the North Node and Gemini,
that's the
you're always
point,
gonna have that.
that's the point of my life where that started to act up.
Hmm.
But I did try with like some artsy stuff, like with the nail, as a nail technician, for example. So I kind of like tended to go into areas where it's a little bit more artsy. So I've been doing nails, and then I went into like dance and also art, as in tattoos.
Hmm.
So that's like, and DJing. So those things are more like in congruency with my heart, with my soul, and how I like to express, right?
Right. They were more
But
authentic for you,
yeah,
basically.
but
So go ahead.
but the thing is, like, those things were, it was pretty hard to sustain myself, like, financially on those things. It was more like it would cover the bare minimum, it
Right.
would cover my this and
I
that,
wanna.
and then I would also have to have like a normal job or something.
Right, which you don't tend to like. I mean, I know you're grinding it out now and doing well, which we'll get to, but I guess you were not down to, like, there's what is it? Surviving and thriving, and you were like, I want to thrive. I
Mhm.
don't want to survive. Most people are like,
Right.
I got a couple jobs, I can stay high, and I'm not on the streets. I'm good. And it's like that's not
Yeah.
what we're here for. So, all right. So, how long did you do that little shake and dance with the
Just
DJing and all?
trying. I was just trying to survive, kind of like on those things for a few years.
Hmm.
I would say like 10 years.
That's a long
Um,
time. Yeah, a couple of years,
Long
a
time.
decade, a whole cycle.
Yeah, I was playing music for 10 years, but most of the times I didn't even earn a single dollar for that. Like,
That
most of the times it
sucks.
was like free entry, free drinks, and you can bring a friend. It's
Well,
like it's ridiculous. I'm
Your
sorry,
your
but it's
Chiron, no, it is your Chiron. See, your North Node is in Gemini, so you should be playing, but you kind of played for free. Your Chiron, which is like your wounded healer, kind of where the wound where the light enters, is in first house Taurus. So you're gonna have you had clearly issues, kind of like where's my value? People aren't valuing me and my time, my body, my
yeah,
money, my skills, the way I see
yeah, yeah.
beauty. That's always going to be kind of the thing you're hung up on. What was your DJ name?
Symbiose.
Symbiose. I like that.
Yes.
That's
That
cool.
was my DJ name. Yeah.
Yeah. And what kind of genre were you messing with? Like a lot, like dubstep or like what?
I love dubstep, but I was actually playing more like psychedelic psytrance,
Nice.
full on techno,
That's what's up.
electro.
Yeah, the good stuff. I mean, I want to hear
Yeah.
some of your mixes. If you got any evidence of this, send me the
I
links at
mean, I
some point.
lost a lot when a computer crashed, but I do have some of it saved on like
Somewhere.
my hard drives.
All right. Well, if you find it in your bored moments to send me some music, I will check it out. Or new stuff. It doesn't have to be just old stuff. But I like music, so I like seeing where people are at. All right. So, Raphael, you got any questions
I
yet?
only have old stuff.
That's
I
okay.
only have old stuff.
Send us new stuff or old stuff. Yeah. Ah, she's drinking her water now. So, I don't know. You're Northern European, Raphael, more or less with Vienna. Like, is it? She's way north with Sweden. It's not that far as the Odin crow flies, but I'm wondering, yeah, how much of what she's saying is that like your scene? I know you had a different growing up, but I'm kind of curious how you resonate, if at all, with what she's saying.
How do you mean, like people not properly appreciating underground artists and everything
Well,
being funneled to
I know you
to
were into
mainstream
business.
labels or something?
No, more like you were into business and like the model of like the Saturnian cube. It's like enter the matrix if you want, it might work. And then people who have like bigger spirits and bigger minds tend to not fit. They rebel. That doesn't mean they find where they should go right away, but they know they don't want to go submit or whatever. She was not into the whole, molecular biology front. I don't know. I was just trying to include you, bro. It's like, come on, camera, Raphael.
Well, proceed.
He's a Libra. All right, yeah. I tickled the cat, and now it's scratching me. So, basically, you did the DJ stuff. What did you? I'm curious. When did you start getting the forehead tattoo? Because that's pretty radical. And I mean, to me, it's not like bad or good. It's not like that, but it's like not everybody tattoos their face. And all your angel wings and stuff. Was that during that era?
Yeah. So my angel wings, they started coming
They're dope.
pretty at the same time as Jesus was coming. So the thing is, like, before I connected with Jesus, I started, like, I was actually at a very, very low point in my life where I was afraid that I would starve to death or something. It was really
Right.
bad.
Okay.
And I was weighing like 10 kilos less than today. And I'm a pretty
You're not
thin
big.
human.
Yeah.
I'm not big, right?
Yeah.
So I just one day kind of like went basically down on my knees and like, please, someone, something, just help me. And I lay down on my back and started meditating. And I started to see these light orbs coming towards me, and I felt like, oh, there's something here. And it felt like it was this energy that just felt good or peaceful. And I decided to go back there every day, because there was like, I felt like there was something more there. And I was like, is this my spirit guides, or what is this, And I just started to go back there every day, because there was like, it felt like there was someone there who actually heard me, who wanted to help me. And after a while, I started seeing that, these are actually angels that are here. They're trying to talk to me, but my mind, my energy field was so distorted at that time. Imagine, I was both like bipolar. I was mentally and emotionally abused. I was a drug addict. Things were not looking good, okay? But these angels were there and they were trying to talk to me, but I couldn't hear because my energy field was so distorted, right? So I just kept on doing that until I actually started to hear what they were saying. And they were guiding me out of the destructive relationship, and they were helping me out from the city. And I went to a smaller town, and everything just, bit by bit, bit by bit, I started to get my life back on track, right? So I decided to tattoo the angel wings, because they are a symbol of that time where it feels like they kind of saved my life. And it's also the feeling that if I ever find myself in a black hole again, I can always hug myself and I have the angels, holding me. But after a while, I realized, like, coming higher and higher in my own consciousness, I realized that I am that archetype. So the angel is part of me.
Well, it's funny because Sagittarius, the card for Sagittarius,
the devil is part of me. Right. It's like, it's all of these archetypes are actually parts of me. When we expand in our consciousness, we can kind of like envelop all of these archetypes, but we can also choose which ones to act on or call upon in ourselves. So the angels, after a while, they stopped showing up because I didn't need them anymore.
Okay.
Because
you outgrew them.
I outgrew them, so they could be, helping the people who actually needed it, and now I can assist other people in their healing and their empowerment instead. Which
is very cool. It's very cool art. I like your tattoos. Very Valkyrie, angel wings. It's funny because you have so much Sagittarius energy. The Sagittarius tarot card is Temperance, which has an angel on it. Just so you know. Yeah, so you've got an angel. It's standing on water holding a cup that's kind of reverse. Ironic, reverse osmosis. It's the water's going upside down. I'll show it in a second or something. Yeah, but your card is very resonant to your life. Yeah. You don't have to go too much into it, but when you say drug addict, were you like into heroin or like too much weed, or what was the problem?
Yeah, so I don't want to go too deep into this because
For
it's
sure.
very, very raw for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be judged because there's so much judgment towards these things. But I had a partner that was using a lot of speed, and it
Okay.
was kind of like,
For kids that don't know, amphetamines.
amphetamine is
uppers.
really bad for you. Don't do it.
No,
It's super fun in the beginning, but
right.
it's not fun in the long run when you feel like you need to take it just to get out of bed or continue working. So it was really, really bad. And I had to work like double shifts because he was using me financially as well. So it was just like, it was
Dark
this
spot. Yeah.
perpetual. What?
It was a dark time. I mean, you're Chiron and Taurus first house.
Yeah.
Your body and resources were taken advantage of, basically.
Yeah.
So no fun.
So I tried to boost that with drugs, and then it just
spiraled. Jinx.
Yeah.
It's funny because I know I've never done meth or amphetamines like that. Ecstasy has amphetamine in it, technically, so I guess maybe a little bit I've done it. But Adolf Hitler got hooked on that shit at one point. They were giving him all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, speed is. I'm sure it's interesting to do. Ironically, I had a friend go back to Berlin, and she was like tripping and doing stuff, and like people at the club were doing speed, and I was like, "That's still a thing?" I thought that like died in the 50s. I have no clue. Not my scene, but I'm glad
people take it for ADHD nowadays,
like Adderall and stuff. Yeah, same idea.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I was actually prescribed that.
It works in a totally different way with people who actually have ADHD. They don't get super speeded; they get more
balanced, tempered.
So
well, we don't have.
I don't know about balance. But.
Yeah. That's a stretch. I was actually prescribed Adderall back in like when I was like 13, 14, and I snorted it, and it was not a good look. So, but I have addiction gene key, and Raphael can attest. Like, there's been times where we just don't even podcast because I'm like, I'm too stoned, I'm not functioning. I'm not. I mean, I support cannabis, but I'm not smoking right now. I might actually eat some mushrooms after this podcast. But anyway,
that's nice.
Yeah.
I support that.
Yeah, the psychedelics all day. I know you just recently did ayahuasca, so we could talk about.
I love the entheogens.
Yeah.
I love the entheogens
because it's like a rainbow. Sure. There's certain vibes, and I think, like we were saying, there's all sorts of archetypes. There's the devil, there's angels, there's God, and all. I think even to the degree of substances and like names and everything has like almost an animistic vibration. So you had lessons with. If you want to put it this way, you had to go to certain bardos or hell states, if you want to put it that way, to get certain keys for your awakening. But to stay there was not the goal. So I'm glad you got out of that. And we don't have to really talk about it much more. All right. So when did you, so you kind of got sobered up, I guess, at some point? You kind of hit a bottom?
I did.
And you were like, fuck this?
I did. I sobered up. Yeah. Several years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, that's super, super beautiful.
And what was the trajectory out of that? I mean, once you started cleaning up, you're like, shit, I guess I got to do some spiritual work. Or how did you, like, I know you got into dancing maybe more. I've seen videos of you doing some like almost pole combat, like Donatello with a fucking stick.
I love my stick.
Yeah, see?
I love that.
Yeah. You could actually probably kill somebody if it had a blade.
I actually continued with the music and the DJing. Right. And that was fun. I did that for some years, and I went into art. Like I started with the destructive things and went into art. Like I was starting to support my artist friends and buying their art, for example, and then starting to do my own art and started to going into tattooing and stuff like that. Like really going into more a creative way of being, right? But it was still the part where I felt like even though I sobered up, even though like one might think I was like bipolar because I did drugs. No, I started as bipolar. I was trying to,
medicate.
Medicate, as many do, right? Because we don't have such really good education around it.
Hmm.
And the doctors were also telling me like, oh, you need to go on, you have to be on heavy medication for the rest of your life if you're gonna
Not
have
those
like
drugs, these drugs, kind of thing.
it's weird, right? But I moved into like a small house in a small village and just started changing my life around, went into more of the spiritual way of life, started studying shamanism, doing more like mushrooms and stuff like that. Mushrooms were helping me a lot when I was depressed and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Helped me get out of these. I tended to get stuck in. It's almost like my brain started looping or glitching when I was too anxious. And the mushrooms really helped me to move beyond. Like
Hmm.
it was like I could see outside of my own mind. I could see what was going on in my mind from a higher perspective. And then I could go back into my body and kind of like translate that to my brain, so that I could get out of the loop, which
Mm.
was super healing, super helpful. So that's something that has helped me a lot. But it was actually first when I came in contact with the ionized water that my depressions actually literally went away. Because like the mushrooms were basically, something that I needed to do when I was having the issues.
Hmm.
They were helping me with that, like a medicine in the moment. But when I got into the water, the depressions actually just disappeared.
Okay, because I know personally mushrooms have. I mean, I did them a few weeks ago. It's been a while. I'll probably do them today. They do a brain reset, literally help neurogenesis. I'm sure anybody listening knows this, but if people want to know, we just had actually a mushroom grower on last week, so we talked a lot about mushrooms lately. But there's a good Netflix documentary called "Fantastic Fungi,"
It's
mycelium in general.
amazing.
Yes, you know about it. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I
It's
love
like
it.
great.
It's so
I showed it to
good.
my mom and everybody. Yeah, it's like guys, and that's why it's
So
funny because
good.
I told her the other day I was visiting my mom, who's also a Sagittarius, might add, and she's not into psychedelics. And I was like, I'm gonna go get some mushrooms, and she's like, she didn't really pitch up a fit, and I was kind of amused. And I don't know what I asked, but she's like, well, I saw that documentary, and I know you're trying to heal. Like she understands. It's not just like let's go get high. It's more like let's hack our
I
realities, like you're
gotta say,
saying.
that's a big difference in attitude if she was antagonistic
Oh
before,
no, dude.
after only
Yeah,
watching that. I mean, that's a
I
big
know.
effect.
I
Okay.
know. It's a
So
good
good.
well, as you said on your Facebook profile, I kind of copied it, but you, Claudia, I know Team Rabbit Hole, we do this, but you do it yourself. We break norms. We try to kind of
Yeah.
use ice breaking
Break.
vessels to hit culture. So and it's almost like the gospel, where it's like if they don't know, how will they know if you don't tell them? Or like the Great Commission in Christianity. So it's like people shouldn't be afraid of expressing their histories because I'm sure, just like Melissa was saying, she could relate to some of the of your past in the comments. But so on the one hand, our shadows don't define us, but they happen. So talking about them is helpful and maybe even cathartic. Hopefully, I didn't re-trigger you. But at the same time, out of out of every nighttime comes a dawn, and the dawn is always. I mean, that's where it gets crazy. The sunrises are really beautiful. So it seems like not only did the mushrooms kind of recalibrate you, you kind of got back. I mean, you got rid of the bad habits. You rebooted well with some entheogens. I'm glad you called that psychedelics that, because I think that's really what's happening. We're getting in contact with spirit, really, and we're so
Yeah,
materialistic that we
I
forgot
mean
what that's about.
the naturals like the mushrooms, the weed, the ayahuasca, they are spirits. They're
Mm.
not they're not some like laboratory kind of chemicals.
Synthesis, yeah.
They are actually like real things that connects us with something really deep.
Well,
And
something even
they
more
are great
fundamental.
teachers. What?
Something even more fundamental than psychedelics, it would seem, to our evolution is water. So, I mean, obviously, water is life was the whole DAPL kind of thing a few years ago. That was a big deal up in, I think it was South Dakota, in America with pipelines and stuff. I know Raphael has talked a few times, and I've seen the documentary with the Japanese dude who'd blessed water. I think it's Masamoto. It's like blessing water versus angry at the water. Tell us a little about what you were doing with the osmotic water, or what you said mushrooms helped, but really what happened, like, because it's cool to do mushrooms, but you can't just eat mushrooms all the time, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe one can, but water is more fundamental to daily, body function, I guess you could say, and surviving and thriving in a biological way. What is your understanding of water, and what you, a minute ago, before I cut you off here, you were talking about, like, I got clean, I got into mushrooms, and that's when I started my water journey. So tell us a little about what that was like.
Yeah, so I don't do osmosis water. I do ionized water, which is
Gotcha.
very
You said
different.
ionized. Gotcha.
Yeah. So the ionized water is actually a water that still has the minerals inside. So the water actually
Cheers.
carries a charge. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's alive, living water. So when I started this journey, I had no real idea what I was getting myself into. I just felt it, when I started drinking it. I just felt it in my brain. I felt it in my muscles. It was like this fizzling, rejuvenating feeling. Like my cells were like, woo! And I was like, what? I just had 2 glasses of water. My tap water never does that. Like, what's this, And I felt like I, as I mentioned earlier, with my biomolecular
Mm-hmm.
studies, that I wanted to help people be more healthy.
Like,
So I
practically.
saw that as a way of actually doing something in my own pace, because I could do that from my home, in my own tempo, because I was like chronically fatigued, and I was, going up and down like a roller coaster, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have something that I could decide my own hours. And I wanted to have a lasting impact in people's lives. So I was like, water. Everyone needs water, right? So I understood that this could do a big change for people with their ligaments, with their bones, with their with their physical bodies. But I had no idea that it could help with the mental health issues that I was suffering from myself.
Mm.
But I used to suffer from like winter depressions every year.
Seasonal affective disorder. I get that.
Yeah.
Not fun.
So I used to do that every year, ever since I was pretty young.
Mm.
So when I started with the water, I think it was like October or something. I was going back and forth from my friend's place, and I was like bringing jugs of water, like I
So
went
wait,
1 hour.
was your friend like selling ionized water? How did you, I mean, it was like a friend and you guys were like, let's experiment with this, or how did that come about? Was she like,
Yeah,
I do
so
ionized water? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so she was in it already, she bought her machine. I couldn't afford it at that moment, so I just went back and forth to pick it up from her.
Mm.
And I realized, because I also saw the compensation plan, which was also super beautiful. Like both like doing good and earning good was possible. So I was like, this is a win-win situation. I really want to get into that. So I started going back and forth to get the water for myself. And I did that this whole winter. And even though that was one of the worst times of my life, because there was so many things going on right then and there, like my finances crashed, my most beautiful relationship crashed. It was just so many things. It just didn't
Well, it's the
work.
10 of Swords card, right? Everything was in your back killing you, and you're like, I need a beach.
Like,
I need water. Yeah.
Yeah, and the water actually helped me so much that I didn't even have a depression, even though it was winter. And I was like, what? This was interesting. How come? Because the only thing I changed was water. Because before that, I already did all of the changes. I was clean. I was eating good food. I was, really taking care of myself, working out, and all of these things. But then the water came. It was like a puzzle piece that just made all of the other things just click together.
The top of the pyramid kind of thing.
I don't know, but yeah, it was the most fundamental thing. Maybe it was the bottom of the pyramid because it
I
was
got
kind
you.
of holding the other things up.
Ironically, I should say that in Egypt, that the pyramids are possibly built over top of aquifers, and that happens to be some
Mm,
like Tulum is a very kind of aquiferic place. So things can
yeah,
build up from the
yeah,
water.
with
Anyway, I
all of
didn't mean to
this.
interrupt you.
Yeah, with all of the cenotes around here, it's like a water system underground here. Super cool. So yeah, so before I could invest in my own machine, I was actually just going back and forth to get it for myself, and I realized like after like 6 months, 7 months, or 8 months, I was like, no, it has to be the water. It's actually the thing that is keeping me afloat.
Hmm.
And yeah, I decided to borrow money for the down payment to buy my own machine and really start working with this. And it's actually one of the best decisions I've done in my whole life because not only did I get my sanity back, like I got my sanity back from water. Who would
Hmm.
have guessed? Like we take
Right.
water for granted. It's like this, it's so many people think just like me, it's just a
Just liquid.
clear liquid. It's just a
Yeah.
clear liquid. It's nothing, right? But it's everything. It's like the fundamental, it's the base of life. And it needs to be alive to give us the charge that we need to send all of the signals in our bodies. So
Correct.
all of our cells and all of our mitochondria, like gets charged and can actually transform like nutrients into pure energy, for example. It's
So just
yeah.
because I'm somewhat into that topic, so I'm curious, what type of modulations have you found in the water are the best for you? Because there's different processes, and I'm not exactly sure about the type of machine you're talking about. I looked it up, but things can be written online. I want to know what you actually use or what type of filtration or modulation you used for the water, which helped you.
Yeah. So the machine I use is a medical grade device from Japan. So it actually takes the water through an electrolysis process,
Hmm.
which charges the water. It also separates like bigger molecular structures into smaller ones that are easier for our bodies to handle. It might even be positive for our bodies, like it turns them into more like mineral compounds. And the machine actually even separates the acidic or discharged water from the antioxidant and charged water. So we actually take the bad water out of the equation. We don't even drink it.
I think I've
So
seen videos of people doing electrolysis on water, and it's like just turns brown. It's like this is the iron, and this is all the whatever chemicals in our water, and it's just like holy shit, we're drinking that. I would never have known. So that's what you're
yeah,
talking about with
there's
the
so many
electrolysis.
things. Yeah, kind of. Like there's different ways. The one that you're talking about actually makes the invisible visible in the water, right? So you
Correct.
actually start to see like all of the heavy metals and the dirt in the
It's
water, and you're
horrifying.
like,
Yeah,
it's
you wouldn't
horrible.
drink it if you saw it. You'd be like, no thanks.
No,
It's
no,
like
you would like, no, this is like brown, black, black water.
death.
Like
Yeah.
it's toxic. Yes,
Yeah.
it is toxic. You don't want to drink it. So first and foremost, of course, the machine filters the water and then it takes it through this electrolysis process and charges the water. But what's important with this one is that the plates are actually medical grade, which is important if we want this effect and at the same time do not wish to have like heavy metal poisoning. Because if you look it up on the internet, you might see someone saying, "Oh, it's dangerous. You can get heavy metal poisoning," which
Hmm.
is actually true. If you buy a cheap product, that can happen. So make sure to get yourself a medical grade apparatus if you're actually gonna give yourself this gift. So you get the effect that you do want and not the effect that you don't want.
Well, I imagine it's like space rockets. You can build one in your backyard, but you might as well get the proper funding to do it right or whatever if you're going to go, quote, launch into orbit. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. But anyway, Raphael's like, whatever. That's interesting that
And
I guess you can go ahead.
You can actually look it up. You see my link here on my milkshake, Freedom in Life. That's actually like where I describe more of how I create freedom through this product, because like everyone needs good quality water. It's a no-brainer. But like in the later slides on my milkshake, you can actually go inside and look at all of the science and the clinical studies and stuff like that. If for the people who really want to dive deep or go deep,
like Raphael.
You can do that. Just go past some slides and you can go dive into the water if you want to, or if
don't
you
even.
Want to.
It's funny because you're supposed to be a teacher, but in a sense you're North Nodes and Gemini, so you can be like, hey, go look at my fucking website. There's all the info.
Yeah.
If someone's like, why is tarot real? I'd be like, I don't know. It just fucking works. Like I wouldn't, I'm a Gemini. I don't know. But yeah, Raphael, this is more. What is your awareness of water? Because it's one of those things. I'm actually here in Colorado, visiting a friend, and they drink. She's like, don't drink the tap water. And I mean, I'm used to doing whatever I want, and they're drinking, I guess, spring water or something like that, and that's fine. But it's like, God,
what does that mean exactly? Spring water?
I don't know. I'm not. Don't check me on it. But these are in huge bottles. I gotta like lug it, put it on.
Bottled water.
Yeah. Well, kind of, but they're massive. I don't know. I could ask her. I guess she's upstairs. But it's funny because my mom lives up in the country, like up at the Continental Divide more, where we visited this weekend in Buena Vista, and she drinks well water, and she thought she was getting thyroid issues. She's in a town called Leadville, is next door, and it is well water, so it's good quote water, not like from the city or whatever like that, but because of the heavy metals in the environment, there might be mercury or lead in the fucking water. So even when we're like, holy shit, we're drinking spring water from the mountains, it's like it could still harm you. So I'm kind of curious, Raphael and Claudia, obviously jump in at any point, what your awareness of water. I mean, I'm a total idiot with this stuff. I mean, I'm not as dumb as like, oh, I'm dehydrated, I'm going to drink soda. Like that's retarded, right? But I'm not sitting here blessing my water and thanking it like the Matsumoto dude, even though I'm sure that might work. I'm just too distracted, I guess. If there is a question, Raphael, what is your, because you asked her and she's like, go check out my website. So I'm like, what is your awareness of the types of filters or kind of what you were asking her about? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, sure.
Point the gun at yourself is my point.
Yeah, no, there's technical details, and maybe after the show, Claudia will talk about that for a second. But overall, I mean, water is life, that's obvious. And also, unfortunately, and I really wish it weren't the case, but even in Vienna, where they say it's the very best water on the planet, which I guess for tap water it is, you still notice the difference when you filter it. I use two types of very simple filtration systems, like sediment filters. Yeah, they just make it alkaline and just remove some of the toxins.
That's why I put lemon juice in my water, but I somehow feel like yours is more effective.
Yeah, there's, because also there's really like, if you know what you're getting and what it is, you can get filters that only cost a few dollars or whatever and still give you a great benefit. And then there is different ways, up to a few thousands to get like a really advanced machine, like what Claudia's talking about, that can, do more fancy stuff, or you can find a machine that directly suits your taste or uses the technology you like. And most importantly, like Claudia said, you will notice a difference. And unfortunately, oftentimes it takes heavy disease for people to start looking at it. But to generally really look at your water and start looking at your version of best filtering and research and understand it is highly recommended. Yeah, and usually, at least, don't necessarily go for the brand that's advertised in the budget supermarket or something. There's usually better things than that. Also, just to mention, which don't have to be more expensive ultimately. But yeah,
it's funny because while visiting my mom, we went out to a restaurant, and my friend and I, and Kelly, she was like, "This water tastes like shit," like at the restaurant, because the food was great, and we drank the water, and it literally, I was like, "This." I made a bad joke. I was like, "This tastes like Bangladeshi water or something." And I was just like, "This is not." It just tasted dirty. I can't explain it. And my mom got a filter after she thought the stuff was wrong with her water. And Kelly, for some reason, has a water testing kit, I guess. So she was like, "Oh, you're in 50-degree," or I don't know about degree, but she was like, "This isn't that bad, but if it's over a certain amount, you gotta, do certain things." Anyway, you guys can geek out as much as you want on this. Basically, chug a lug. Cheers. basically,
so
yeah, I don't know much
since
about
we're on
water.
this, let's
Yeah,
just do
go for
some
it.
simple demonstration for something that's like super simple. So this is a very simple filtration, or what's actually, it's a piece of, I guess, not poisonous plastic, and it's simply a piece of coconut inside, for example. Yeah.
Interesting.
And this filters, nitrate and all kinds of things. And also here you can then tell the water quality of your tap water. So if I use this in Vienna, I can use this for a year or something, and you will hardly see any discoloration.
Mexico City might be a little different.
And then I used the same thing in Goa, in India. And I knew already, okay, I'm not going to drink anything there. I don't want to carry the bottles every day, So I took this filter with me. I was actually able to drink the water without getting sick. I was a little bit surprised that only this was enough. But only after like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, there were like huge black spots. So you could really see like there, the water, I don't know what they have in the water there, yeah. But just to say that there is a difference, and everything else I can say, there is a great book called Dancing with Water, which is written by MJ Pangman, however, together or inspired by Mushik Yon. I think that's a really great one. Have you read this book by chance?
No, but I know this author.
So I think it's a really well-written book. It like explains the importance and the aspects of, what is living water, and the idea of like dancing with the water. Yeah. That there is let's say a flow and a conductivity to it, or a drive to it. And then what I found most interesting, one tidbit from that book, is something called hydrogen efficiency zone, HEZ, which supposedly some, high degree sports people already are exploring with. And it seems there is a way for the body to change the metabolism, not to sugar, not to oxygen, not to ketone or fat, but actually to hydrogen. And this seems to be like a super ultra effective way to produce energy without any residue in the body from the preliminary research they got. So this would even be like energy if you, I would describe, have the proper voltage within your body. So the proper overall energy availability is then able to process hydrogen in this amazing way. And then I'm like, wow,
What the fuck? It sounds like Egypt secrets.
Wow.
And because you talk about dancing, how she also describes this, it's similar to the feeling you get when you're like in a really good mood, really dance, great, and suddenly you have so much energy. Where is it coming from? It may be because your body switched to hydrogen efficiency zone for a few minutes. So I find it interesting, yeah. So because I also like dancing, so I'm sure there's something.
You got homework, Claudia.
I really need to respond to this, because now it gets super interesting. So you were talking about your filter, that you needed it so you could drink the water as to not get sick. That's why we have a filter, because we do not want to get sick. But if we want to heal, if we want to get well or better, we also need to have living water. And then we come into the charge, as you said, with the hydrogen and the voltage of the water of the body. We need to heighten the energy in our bodies. And if we drink water that has energy inside, it's like drinking light. We literally drink energy, and we charge ourselves from the inside. And it's also filled with hydrogen gas. So molecular hydrogen is actually one of, or the absolute strongest antioxidant that we have on the planet, as we know of today. And it's a selective antioxidant as well, which means we cannot get too much of it. There's no toxicity of it. So
no overdosing.
No overdosing. So that's what these machines do.
So you were saying that I think I'm in a similar boat, because I had mentioned, hey, let me come to Mexico for a week and try out this water. Your friend was kind enough to let you kind of sample it for a long time, and you saw results. How do you convince people to be a part of something so expensive, I guess, and so people need to walk through it themselves to experience it for themselves. So how do you go about doing that?
Before you respond, just very briefly, because people always come about with this, something is expensive. And I'm not talking about, everyone has to choose for themselves again which technology and so on they use. No, but the general idea, how much money or attention do you even give to the effing wonderful water you consume? how much is it worth to you, and how much percentage of energy and health could it actually represent if it had the proper quality that's resonant with your own body. And then you get a different calculation in terms of expensive. But
Sure, it's an
sorry,
investment in health.
just had to mention that.
But the
Well,
thing
it's like
is,
psychedelics. It's like somebody's got to take the ticket to ride, and it's like, how do you convince my mom to eat mushrooms because she's having issues? And I'm like, maybe you should try mushrooms. It's like, all right, well, she'll have to make that choice eventually for herself. Whereas this machine is like, if you go to the Wizard of Oz, he will give you hydrogenated water. But it's like, how does one? There's probably many ways to Oz, metaphorically speaking, in this case. So, yeah, I mean, I had paid attention to one of your seminars, I guess you could call it, where you guys are talking about the facts, and I paid attention to that. But I don't remember you guys trying to really sell anything, actually. But I was also in a weird headspace. So yeah, I guess walk us through what you're up to now, because it seems like you got into the water. The machine your friend had turned you on, and you're like, I'm in. I drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak. I'm fucking converted. I love this shit. So you found the light, and that is what's the company called? Kind of talk about just how people can access this for themselves realistically, because it's like the price of a car, basically a used car.
Yeah, it's
But
basically
as Raphael would say, it's an
like
investment.
the price of the car, but it will last you a lot longer, probably.
Hopefully.
So these machines last for somewhere between 20 to 50 years, or maybe more. So if you calculate it on how much you actually spend per day for
like
unlimited water, for unlimited water for yourself and your whole family, you will pay like 2 or 3 nickels or cents. What is it? Cents, right? You talk cents.
Mm-hmm,
So
yeah.
20,
Sorry.
30 cents per day. So it's like, it's not expensive if you look at it from that viewpoint, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And with the payment plans, I actually just needed like $1,000 to
Well, that's not that bad.
one of these, like the best ranking model in the world, into my home, which is amazing.
Yeah,
So
no.
there are different payment plans and stuff like that. But
what's the company called?
Enagic, and they've been around for 50 years next year. I'm probably gonna go to Japan and celebrate.
Yo, I'll join you. No shitting. I want to go to Japan. Raphael, he wants to go to Japan. He loves Attack on Titan shit.
They're gonna celebrate their 50th anniversary in Okinawa, Japan, where they are like
headquartered.
Yeah, the headquarters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what's up. I trust the Japanese. They don't fuck around. I mean, they kind of they try to do the best. They're almost like Germans, but without the attitude. So it's like they don't think they're superior. They just put out superior products. So all right. So there's a payment plan, it seems like, and some people are asking questions. Ginger's asked, does it make sense that taking a few grains of Celtic salt with clean water would also give us a charge? I don't know enough about this stuff. If you guys either. Okay,
the thing is, like, it will give you minerals.
But if you don't have the voltage to do it,
doesn't have the voltage.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So you need an electrolysis process to put the voltage to the minerals. So the minerals are actually the ones that will carry the charge, but you need to charge them for that to happen.
Sure.
Celtic salt is good. I mean, we need
sea moss, all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But we need to get the charge from somewhere. Either we can sunbathe, which is great.
Tulum, you got that going on.
Tulum. We can eat like a lot of fresh fruits, or do like fresh juicing, but that is definitely much more than 20 or 30 cents per day. I will assure you, if you will hydrate yourself with juicing, you will definitely pay for one of these machines in a matter of a year.
Yeah.
In a year, for sure. So it
and
depends
just
on
to add on the ad.
Compare
no,
with.
No, just one sentence.
Please.
Because and also if you want to do juicing, as with everything has to be researched, and have to find your own way. But even if you want to do it, or you use like whole whole vegetable or whatever, which is another idea, smoothies, still, if you would want to add water, you still want to add the best quality water you can, you know.
Right.
And also, just because I know a bit about it, maybe someone also mentioned, I think Melissa mentioned in the chat, that you can also do all kinds of things if you have this specialized water, right? Like you can clean surfaces, you can make vegetables last longer and stuff. Maybe you want to talk about that for a second, if you like.
What can you say that again?
Not just the idea that if you have the specialized water, or you can set to get specific water through technology or through a machine,
it has benefits just beyond human hydration. It's like you can
like
actually
clean
sterilize
surfaces.
things.
I think you can make things last longer and stuff like that, right?
It looks like Melissa here. She's commenting a lot. I think she knows what's up. Like these water ionizing machines, they can actually produce a lot of different pH levels. Anything from like 2.5 water, which actually is a disinfectant. So you can disinfect if you have any woundings, or you can gargle it if you have like an infection in your throat or something like that. You can even treat like food poisoning by drinking a little bit of it and kill off some of like the bad bacteria that you
acquire.
Yeah, which you don't want. You don't want to drink it regularly, but you can actually treat it when you need to. And you
is that what urine therapy is doing? This is random, but people are into urine therapy. Is that because of the pH?
I don't know. I don't think
drink my own urine.
I don't think urine is that. I think it has some antiseptic effects, but I'm not sure. I'm not into that really. Do you know?
All right,
I don't know. I don't know the details about it, but from what I had heard, I think it is also related to the charge, as so many other things. So there is also like a connectivity, a connection to the electrical aspect of it and the minerals. It's something related to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into urine therapy, but yeah, I know that many people who drink, for example, distilled water, which is way too clean for us to drink, it kind of like flushes out a lot of our minerals. And I see that is like an attempt to kind of like keep the minerals and like recycle it in the body or something.
Yes.
But yeah, so it charges the body, but it can also help with like cleaning wounds. You can clean your kitchen, and you can even wash your vegetables with it, because it, like the 11.5 water is so charged that it will actually dissolve oils. So it will take the oil-based pesticides away from the vegetables and our fruits, for example, which is super cool. I know people who use it to clean their cars and stuff like that. There's so many uses to this water. Like you can treat so many different imbalances, but you can also kind of help to create a chemical or poison-free home, which is great. Oh, Kim says he has some tech issues, but okay.
Yes, I hope he'll be back. Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess I could geek out on water for a long time. I mean, Jim brought it up earlier. Maybe just if anyone in the chat, which I actually doubt, doesn't know about it, or maybe just to ask you about it, how much are you into the whole Masaru Emoto story, or what's your take on it? About, the crystals and the photos and...
Yeah, so Masaru Emoto, he was a pioneer when it comes to water, and he helped unlock many doors. He made people curious about water because he could see that water actually takes form from its surroundings. So if we treat it with respect, it will treat us with respect back, because everything in nature is structures. But the thing with like talking to the water or blessing the water, for example, the only thing that we do is actually changing the structure, the molecular structure of the water, which of course is very important and very good. But what we don't do is like we cannot clean the water by blessing it. We cannot charge the water. If we charge it, we do it with our own charge, our own light that we then drink again. So it's like a plus minus kind of thing. But I think Masaru Emoto's work is extraordinary, especially because it helped so many people be curious about this living element of water. And we started to see it not as just something, we started to see it as something magical, something more interesting, something deeper. And that's why I think, like, if we look deeper into water, we realize that it's so much more to it than just the structure of it. So these machines, for example, do structure the water. So we have this super crystalline structure of the water, which is actually due to its charge, for example.
Right. So I think this is even explained in the book. I think it's called The Hexagonal Water Key. And that's also one of the books also written. This was the one by M.G. Pangman and Mu Shik-yeon, this Korean scientist who did a lot of research that I guess is also somewhat related to Victor Schauberger, whom I'm certain, or I assume, you've heard of. One thing I wanted to mention about Masaru Emoto, from what I understand, actually, interestingly, he was a political scientist. And also it could be said that it was an artistic project because the images were particularly selected. However, the interesting part here is that he also gave instructions for an experiment everyone can do in their own home or in
With
their
the
own
rice.
kitchen with the rice. Have you ever tried it?
No, I haven't really, actually.
I can
But I
only
have
encourage
others.
everyone to try it, do it according to your own standards, and then still someone can believe, oh, maybe one more bacteria got in there, that's why there is more mold or something. But honestly, I mean, I did it just one time, and I had me and some other people meditating on it, even just for 1 or 2 times. And then I just left it there, and the results were clear. And strangely enough, at least what you could find a few years back on YouTube, many people reported very, very similar results and quite striking results. And why I think this is so great is because it shows also this like psychic bond we have, or this interconnectedness of everything. Because if I know, okay, I didn't touch it, I didn't put anything in it, the only difference is a label I put on top of it and a thought or an emotion that I express. And then, of course, the next thing is, how many percent of water or hydrogen are we actually made of? People like to say 70%. From what I understand, it's probably more like 95% plus, actually. Yeah, all these, liquid things with a few salts and minerals added. So, and then, just imagine what effect that we're having on that thing we are carrying with us, this vessel of water, in a sense, with each and every thought, potentially, each and every emotion. So, yeah. And of course, it's very beautiful if we have Jim back, maybe.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
We can hear you all right.
All right, my computer is stupid. I'll turn off my camera for a second. I don't know.
Your image is stuck, but we can hear you.
All right, so if I smile, it'll get stuck on a smile.
Yes, that's great. That's great.
Got it.
Anyway, that's creepy.
Well done, Jim. No, come on.
No, that's like a ventriloquist to me. All right, I don't know what I missed. This is not my computer. I left some of my shit back in where I lived. So anyway, I guess some technical difficulties. Fill me in briefly. You don't have to go play by play, but what were you guys just talking about for 10 minutes, 5 minutes?
Oh, we were just geeking out on water and, the intricacies. And last thing we mentioned was Masaru Emoto and the rice experiment. So that was the last thing we talked about.
I mean, I guess I can just come on camera, whatever. All right. So, where do you want to take this conversation? We could geek out further in water. I mean, we could talk about how you, Claudia, have been doing sales and working with other people. I thought that I've seen your progress. It feels like maybe a year or two ago, you were going to conferences and checking it out at a certain level, and now you're probably hustling it a little harder. Not
hustling at all anymore.
Okay, see, I was gonna say hustle is a bad
word. Not hustling at all anymore.
Hold on.
That's
a trigger word. Okay. Let me rephrase that. You were participating with this reality. God, I look like I'm funny. You were participating with this reality in a certain way, maybe a year or two ago. Not from the outside looking in, but it feels like you've climbed through the group more, if that makes sense. And that's what I meant more. So try to explain to us maybe the people you're working with, what's inspired you. It was cool watching you. You invited me to a seminar And I tuned into that, and some of the people we were talking with are very Team Rabbit Hole. I forget the guy's name, but there was a dude from, I think, Europe. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he speaks English, and a woman. Whatever. I saw your seminar, so I can't name names. I'm like, I don't know what their names are. But what is your crew up to? Like, what's the business model? How are you thriving? And kind of explain your Tulum. I mean, you're independent financially now. It seems you're doing really well. You're always kind of posting on Facebook like, I can't believe I'm living this dream life. Doesn't mean everything's perfect. I get that, but it doesn't mean that you're not at all where you used to be. So the transformation is good. So yeah, tell us a little about maybe what you're up to and who you're participating with.
Yeah, for sure. So I started like 3 years ago, a little bit more, like really deciding to go in and
that means I've
choosing.
been watching you for like 3 years, just for the record, because I think I
Yeah.
started paying attention when you turned more onto this, like professionally, so to speak.
Yeah. So it kind of like clicked for me when I saw, I think I saw the compensation plan for maybe the 4th or 5th time, and I realized that, oh, wait, this is more like a team effort thing. This is not like one person just needing to do everything themselves or wear all the hats, you know. This is actually a team effort that we can go and do it together as a group. And I decided to like, oh my God, this is actually really good. I want to create more freedom for myself, and I was in desperate need of better finances because I didn't want to work at my previous jobs and stuff like that because I didn't feel valued. I mean, I'm a light worker, and as many light workers and healers, we do not get even a percentage of what we're worth or what we are bringing to the table, right? And I saw this as this could be the shift out of that, out of the matrix into the freedom, right? So I started to, first and foremost, I just started diving into the science of the water because I think that was like super interesting to understand it deeper. But then I kind of like I sold machines to people who really needed the water, who were sick and really needed, you know, to get well, which is very, very important. But as I myself started to get so much more well, and I started to see that I am stable and I'm high functioning, I started thinking bigger.
At a higher level. Yeah.
I started thinking bigger, and I started to see like, so who am I, and what was my goal? And I started to see like, oh my God, I can actually use this as a vehicle to free more light workers in the world and actually empower and enable people to do massive impact. So that was like how I started to think. And I also found this amazing educational platform which allows for us to earn while we learn things like marketing or create our own personal brand. And I realized that I don't have to focus on selling a product. I can actually start thinking more of who I am, how I want to live, what's really deeply important on like a higher level. I mean, health level is fundamental, right? That's the base. We have to have that for everything else to function. But when that is stable, we can kind of move higher into a more like fulfilling,
self-actualized
state, right? So then I started to go more into like freedom and travel and personal development, spiritual development, and theogens, and working more on the shamanic path, and starting to realize that I can actually just be myself and help connect people to this platform where they can go in and first and foremost start to see who they are at a soul level or a heart level, and see what do you truly want to do with your life. Because we kind of tend to limit ourselves to our current life situation or our current financial situation, or maybe we are still stuck at a job or whatnot, right? Or our energy level or things kind of like hold us back. But who am I truly if we take away all of these limitations? And with this platform, we have like a high converting funnel and a high ticket offer, and we also have people doing the sales for us. So with that platform, I know that I'm still contributing to the betterment of the world through living water and to minimize like the really unnecessary use of single-use plastics and plastic bottles, right?
Yeah, the consumerism that's gone too
Yeah,
far.
because it's just too much of it.
Yeah.
Even if it's like spring water, we bottle it and it kind of like loses its charge in a week anyways. It's like we need to have this fresh living water at home like every day.
It's the
I
age of
don't think that
Aquarius
we need
altar.
to, but if we want to live an optimal life, that is a very good thing to have. So this is something that everyone needs. But due to the platform, we can create, it's like a stream that just continues to go as we learn how to just promote a freer lifestyle or healing or whatever we feel in our heart that this is actually my calling. Like step into my calling, if that is even sometimes like relaxing my central nervous system and finding
Correct.
peace, because we truly do need peace in these times, and allowing myself to be happy and content with living a peaceful and joyous life and spreading love, spreading joy, spreading freedom around me and connecting with other people and talking about deep stuff like we're doing now, for example.
Well, I know your team rabbit hole. That's why I have you on here.
Yeah.
So my curiosity is, I want to know a little more about the company and some of the people you're working with, because I feel like it's a kind of a movement, if you want to put it that way. You guys are trying to create momentum in a certain way. Well, it's your choice. We could either talk about that first, or I'm curious because as somebody who does entheogens and has kind of whatever, whether it's DMT or whatever, you start realizing maybe that life isn't what we thought. It's kind of like Bill Hicks. It's just a ride. Holy shit.
Right.
I'm just down here playing around in a hologram or whatever. How do you balance the awareness of maybe that kind of super spiritual big picture with like, wanting to succeed materially? I'm not saying it's wrong. I think I'm one of the idiots who finds simple asceticism, kind of like whatever, I'll go live in a cave and I'll just ohm. Like that seems like, quote, more spiritual than maybe like owning a business and crushing it. But that's my prejudices and my wounds playing into that more than maybe the facts. So I'm curious, how do you look at the spiritual reality? I mean, you kind of said it, but I want you to speak on it more. You're like, it's good to get your kind of like out of the trauma, out of the black hole, balanced and stabilized, like as a biological being, and then after that it turns to playing well with others on the stage of life. So how do you look at business in terms of spirituality? And then I'm curious about the team that you're working with, so you can kind of start on either one and we'll just go to the other one after that.
I just
there's no wrong answer. I'm just curious.
Yeah, of course there is no wrong answer because we're all different, right?
Yeah.
And you were mentioning that this like minimalistic living in a cage kind of reality.
Like hippies tend to be like, oh, if I have a bong and I'm living in a car, I'm happy. It's
yeah,
like, are we happy?
I mean, if that is something that someone truly wants to do, like live a very minimalistic life, but still have an income to be able to pay for food, maybe, or stuff like that, or travel or stuff like that. To just know that for me, for example, I can go to the beach and enjoy a whole day by the beach. And the only thing that I would do would be kind of like documenting my amazing day, put it up on social media and letting people know that this is available for you as well. I don't see that as like crushing it as a business owner. I'm basically I'm basically just showing people what's possible. That old version of sales and business is kind of like crumbling as we now step into being able to get paid for being ourselves and living our best lives. And that's what automation is about. We go out, we live our best lives, and the system is working for us in the background. And the only thing that we need to do is kind of like create content, maybe write something that we are inspired by, and have a call to action. Click this link to see how this is possible for you as well, and then attach that to your passion, because your passion maybe isn't being by the beach and then doing ayahuasca once in a while, and
all the fun things in Tulum,
all of the fun
checking out the
things in
caves.
Tulum, or be in the caves, or going to the gym, or eating a lot of amazing fruits. I mean, that's my view of luxury. But someone's view of like living my best life could be buying an amazing house, or maybe create a sanctuary, or like there's just so many things that we can do.
I think you made a post recently. It was like, it's great that you, I mean, because my friend that I'm here with, I mean, she might be a common girlfriend or something, but the point is, she's like, what's your income? Where's your value? Like, what are you doing in the world? Like the security from that. And I know we're in turbulent times with crypto and World Health Organizations, and just maps are changing for how we participate with reality at large. So there's like one level of me that's like, fuck the system. I think that's typically our generation. But then it's like, that doesn't mean, how would I put it? Just because you want to blow up the Death Star doesn't mean you're going to go live naked in the woods. It's like you could still build culture and community and reality, but you're going to need funds and resources basically to do that. Not everybody needs to be a business person, but it seems that you found. When I say crushing it, I think you're doing well. I don't know. I don't want to put
good balance.
Yeah, you're doing good financially now. I don't think you're sweating bills particularly, but you're not necessarily having to do a brick and mortar thing. You're not really worried about. I mean, it's about if what you're doing. How would I put this? If what you're doing is as authentically true as you're claiming it to be, it seems you're just surfing and things are coming to you in a way that you're just doing your joy and showing people your joy, and it's playing a part of a structure that's kind of counterbalancing all the unhealthy structures. Because a lot of more new age hippie types are like, wake up from the matrix, oh my god, we're God, or whatever the trip is, and then it's like they don't know what to do after that. I don't personally even know how to integrate my skills as a monkey on this rock in this time body. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't want to phrase it in such a way that I don't think, how would I put it? You're such a spirited person. You've learned how to basically capitalize on your spiritedness in such a way that it's enabling you to be healthy, which is beautiful. So when I say crushing it, I mean like that. I don't think you're sitting around like, counting Scrooge McDuck style stacks of coins or something. It's not like that, because you don't strike me. It's funny. You're an adventurer who has found a way to basically support yourself to do those adventures. I mean, that's the point. It's a positive feedback loop, whereas maybe before with other drugs and stuff, it was like a negative feedback loop. So
right. And now
basically,
I'm
happy what you're doing.
Promoting health and thrive by promoting freedom. Of course, I mean, it is a networking business. I still need to actually talk to people. I mean, I need to talk to people and show them. I need people to see, like, have people to see that this is actually possible for them. Because if they don't, then no one will join, and it will not create the flow, right? But the thing is, like, earlier in my life, I just like I was writing a list of like 100 people, and then I was gonna, I was cold DMing them, and I was bugging people, and all of those things. That's like so beyond
Passe. Yeah.
It's just so passe. I actually have a way where I create my content, and I'm basically doing it in a more conscious way, that I'm inviting people. I'm inviting you, like, and people are coming to me like, what is it that you do? It looks a little bit too good to be true. What is it? I create curiosity, attraction, and then people who are aligned with my values, who also want to create more freedom and abundance, they come to me, and then they join, and then we start, we're co-creating together. because it is possible to break free from this ever-going hustle. Like, oh, we need to work hard. We need to do. If you want to work hard, if you want to earn millions, go for it. I mean, I don't judge. For me, I would prefer to just have a very calm, peaceful, joyous life and sustain myself, and knowing that I do good for other people at the same time. I mean, I do have bigger goals as well, to create like a holistic health center. I know that I need a lot more money for that.
Yes.
But I'm not stressing about it, you know? And I feel like for me, it's more important that I have my balance. I have my health, my mental clarity, my peace, my joy, love. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that's more valuable than that.
No, it seems like you're living a rich life.
Yeah, that's a rich life for me.
Yeah.
Like living from the heart, not from my wallet. My wallet pays for all of the amazing things that I'm doing all of the time. But I mean, that's not that the deepest riches is actually just following the call.
Yeah. And it seems
but I
that
wouldn't be able to do that if I was stuck in Sweden with no finances.
Correct. And it seems like it's just a domino effect where it's like, and this is the nature of anything. If with Christianity, it's like, I've seen the light. I mean, the analogy I've heard in Christianity, I guess, would be like, I was starving and now I found the bread. Here, you have the bread. That's kind of what you're doing. You're like, guys, I was struggling. It was really hard. I had real human issues. I added this element into my reality, and it changed my life. And that's pretty much all you're cheerleading that. You're a cheerleader for the change that you've experienced. And when people, I think my senior quote in high school, when we're in high school, I don't know what that would be for you, but basically they're like, you could have a quote, and mine was by a trumpeter named Wynton Marsalis, which I don't even play trumpet or anything, but he said, experiencing great things makes us want to do great things ourselves. And that's kind of what you've done, where it's like you experience some truth and you don't want to hide that under a bushel and keep it hidden. You want to show the light of the truth of your experience. I get a little skeptical because personally, this is my trauma and my baggage, where I thought, that's what Kelly's kind of trying to help me with, and Raphael can attest to this, where I'm like, I'm just horrible with money, honestly, to the point where I hate it. And I'm like, fuck money. I wish we could all just have, whatever, not socialism, but it's like, this is too hard. The world isn't set up for success. Like, we're all struggling. You've kind of gotten beyond that. Yeah.
And you know what I realized? It's never the money that it's the problem. The problem is always the lack of money. That's always the problem. That's why we fight. That's why we stress. That's why we, have wars. It's always the lack.
Scarcity. Yeah.
The scarcity. It's never the abundance. I've never heard someone, oh my God, I have too much money on my account. I hate it. I've never heard anyone say that in my life.
Right. No, it's true. I would say it's biologically true.
So what if we can earn a lot of money from just doing the things that we love, connecting with the people that we enjoy? If that be going out on an ecstatic dance or a cacao ceremony or whatever, and connecting with people there, and just co-create with the people that we love, for real. Because that's what I do. And I've had my 10K month. I had my 20K month. And for me, earlier in my life, that would seem like impossible or crazy.
Correct. Yeah. Very different than what you expected.
For what? For living a great life and being inspirational?
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you have Mars. You have Mars and Venus and your moon in 6th house, which is Virgo flavored Libra. So it's like you are relational. You want to work with communities and networks and relationship. You're built to be in a partnership straight up. So I know you're a strong, independent woman, but at the same time, like find your man or your king or whatever you want to do, or woman. I don't know.
King, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it's funny because I guess Venus rules Libra, so it's like you have a way to not only beautify but create balance and value in things. So your life is a representation of that process. It seems like you were, you had the scales very unbalanced at one point. You shifted through both shamanism and kind of just practical health. Like I said, 6th house is Virgo, so you have to be. I mean, it's not surprising you like love dancing and you love being in your body. And hopefully you're not OCD about it, like obsessive. but you're going to be very health conscious always, so don't feel bad about that. And then in another way, you're transforming people with truth. It's tricky because there's many camps of quote truth. So it's like, you know, the Death Star think they have it right, the Ewok rebellion think they have it right, but everything I've seen from you're up to seems both authentic and true, at least for you. And that's why I've always been attracted to it, because not only is your North Node conjunct my moon, so I think in a sense, it's near my Chiron too. So I think in a sense, you're moving in a direction that I could for myself to heal in. So I'm taking some notes, but also your opposite, being so Sag heavy, you're opposite me. So I think there's a kind of alchemy. I mean, we're not friends, quote, yet. We're more or less acquaintances, but I do hope to meet up or hang out and stuff at some point, or at least get on the water bandwagon. $1,000 isn't the end of the world, especially for health. I'll look more into that later. But
I mean, that's just for the first down payment, but like it's and then you pay monthly until it's done, depending on which model you want and stuff like that. But people usually they get stuck on the big number, like, oh, it's 4,000 or 5,000 grand. Yes, it is in total. But if we start looking at it as a lifetime investment, and we see that there are payment plans, and it's also possible to earn it back in a few sales, we need to just think a little bit bigger and start valuing ourselves as well, you know, because it's not only about the price, it's the cost. How much does it cost to buy bottled water all of the time, to suffer or have cancer or mental health issues? It costed me all of my important relationships. I cannot put a price on that, but it costed me the most important things in my life, which is beyond money. And to have that mental balance back and actually be able to keep my friends and to keep like actually build long-lasting relationships. Woo, that's
you
worth
feel like
more
you're
than
riding the
anything.
wave, the good wave this time.
And the thing is, like, this is not, people need to be like me.
No, you're just doing
this is just me being my authentic self and getting paid for that. But I mean, there are single moms doing this. There are yoga teachers doing this. There are people from on all ages and genders or whatever, you know, who does this with their own flavor. Because that's the thing, like, we want to be free and authentic. And I'm so tired of this, you know, I need to put on a mask or play a role to go to work, to do this and that, blah, 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 just to earn money so that I can live.
It's a sham. It's a scam.
It's a scam. It's a scam. And we get paid minimum wage for it as well. It's just like, it's a scam.
So I'm curious, obviously the waterfront has opened up opportunities for you and you're thriving in a very specific way. You had mentioned being into shamanism. How much of, and I'm aware that you did ayahuasca recently. I don't know how much about that you want to talk about, but like how do you see those working together? Is it just a consciousness expansion? There's certain plants that do this and help, but also obviously good business models and networks can expand your consciousness, basically.
Oh my God, this is so fun. Wow. Okay, let's go into it. I was actually asking ayahuasca herself, because Mother ayahuasca herself, because I have been in other businesses before that has not been as good, which has crashed my finances and everything. So I was really like, I wanted to make it right this time, right?
How do I keep my freedom, Mother Ayahuasca, basically?
And also, like, I was asking her, is this in alignment with my higher self? Do you agree that this is something that is good to provide to the world?
Which I should say is a big on you to even, I mean, look, some people go to I haven't done ayahuasca, but some people do drugs and they're just like, I want to see lights and lasers. You know, they want to go for the entertainment aspect. To go in with an intention like that is some serious shit. Some props. Like, that's not you went in asking, like, you know, the director, am I acting
like,
properly?
is this business and this product something that you accept or value, think is something that I should do? Is this in alignment with my higher self? And she was like, yes. she was showing me this like green kind of like almost like society slash church temple vision. It was glowing light, like green light. And she
The
told me,
Emerald City.
yeah, it was the Emerald City. Yes, exactly. And she was telling me that, yeah, this is something that is very good, but you need to step up more. You need to talk about this more boldly, because I thought that I did, but I come from a place from like suffering from this kind of like inferior ego thing where I kind of like made myself smaller, like because I was suffering from low self-esteem after everything I've been going through, right? And she's like, you need to step up more. You need to talk about it more. Like, be proud, be, you know. And
Be
I
the
was like,
cheerleader you are. You're a cheerleader.
yeah. And I'm like,
for truth.
and I was like, am I not doing that yet? Like, yeah, but you can do more. So she was like pushing me to do more. So that was actually very, very interesting. And
how does that
also,
look? What did she's like do more? What does that mean to you? Like get on a tour of the world and talk about it, or
kind of like just show up, you know, talk about it to people.
come on the podcast kind of thing.
Come on, yeah, come on the podcast, you know, show yourself, speak your truth, do it, you know. And I've been brewing ayahuasca several times myself. So when I had my own machine, I was actually brewing ayahuasca with Kangen water, which just made it even more potent, because like this has the ability to bring out like the active substances from plants when we cook food, for example, like the nutrients. But here is the active substances in the medicine plants, right? So it was just a very powerful brew.
Trip. Yeah. It's interesting because I hadn't even thought about the ramifications of the psychopharmacology and the biochemical kind of structuring of the water of the shamanism. I mean, I never would have thought that.
Imagine charged living water, like just brewing the medicine with it. So yeah, this is something that I definitely want to do more.
You've got to, I mean, this sounds weird. I'm a Gemini. You'll appreciate this. You've got to get some kind of like Shipibo dude or whatever to come try your brew and be like, do you notice the difference? And they'll tell, I mean, maybe they'll be like, fuck, this is the new way. We all need one of these machines. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to hear what their experience, if it was any different from a normal quote, like boiled water of the jungle mode.
Yeah, I mean, medical grade water and these medicinal plants, you know, it's just a match made in heaven for sure. That's super cool.
So what are we can kind of start winding down, but I'm curious what your like ambitions are. Obviously you've had some visions of stepping up to the plate, but what are some of the goals you're hoping to accomplish? And projects, travel, all that stuff. I know you want to go to Japan. I'm dead ass. Like, if I'm not meeting you in Mexico at some point, like, sure, Japan. Nihongo ga wakarimasen. I don't speak Japanese, but yeah, I just said I don't speak Japanese in Japanese. I lived in Honolulu for 2 years as a barista at Starbucks, so I interacted with a lot of Japanese tourists. So I learned how to basically stop them in their tracks because they would just shout at me in Japanese. I'm like, I don't speak Japanese, and they're like, okay. Anyway, so yeah, tell us a little about some of your hopes and dreams, but also some of the things you're trying to overcome. Whatever's clever on that front.
So my goals now are mostly focused on how I can assist others. So my goal is to free as many people as possible when it comes to like their health issues, but also with their financial issues and stuff like that. And also through like personal development to actually help people overcome more of their like limiting ideas of themselves, like empower people. Like sometimes I feel a little bit like Trinity and Neo, which is
I see it.
Team Rabbit Hole, right? We're going in it, you know, and I want to help people actually take that decision of like, I want to break out and I'm gonna do it, you know, I'm gonna do it. I want to make people first of all see that they're stuck and help them see that there's a key, but you need to use it yourself. You need to go through it, and it will be challenges and stuff like that, but just cheer them on until they just break out and can really self-actualize. So so that's like,
That's the main
I would
goal.
say that's the main, like the spiritual
Assist and
goal.
awaken.
Yeah, assist the awakening of humanity in a way. But if we go down to earth plane, I would say I want to create a holistic health center, or join a holistic health center where we do have different like ceremonies, where we have yoga, where we have like how do you say, like
It's 1 on
really great
44
raw
on
food
this.
and stuff.
We've
What?
been talking for 144 minutes. I just think that's funny
Yeah.
that you're talking about like the tribe will come together and the heaven on earth and the rainbow.
Yeah, 144.
Yeah,
All the angels, they will come together. We will,
we will sing praise of creation. It'll be great.
yeah,
No,
we
your
will
dream
dance,
is,
and we will,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
we will grow food, and we will,
Well, that seems to be the next step. I feel like a lot of people, I mean, you're about my age. I'm looking at your chart. You're actually 2 years older than me. You would have beat me up in high school, I guess, but or driven me to school. But it seems people who are, I don't want to even label it an age group. It seems that when people hit a certain point of awakening, they pull out, they do the shadow work. They try to figure it out, and then it's about where you're at, which is finding the sustainability in the matrix, or the 3D, if you want to call it that, because the matrix is more or less Babylon, and then 3D is different. I mean, you can go live on, fresh water and fruits in Hawaii in loincloth and not speak English, but that's not like maybe what everybody's here for. So I guess what I'm getting at is, it feels for about the past 10 or 15 years, our soul tribe, or however you want to put that, has been going through boot camp, and now we're able to, through our own experiences and our own scars and victories and shit, show people, if they choose to walk in a direction of sovereignty, empowerment. It's like positive anarchism, because basically it's kind of splitting between like, hey, we want you to live in a smart city. You're going to have all these, jabs and microchips and all this shit. Or like you're saying, food sustainability, knowing what we're doing, kind of being, it doesn't matter about being in control particularly, but it's about influencing things from our own perspectives in a way we would prefer. So it's a lot of work, but I mean, it's not work when you're having fun, and I think you're having a blast. So I do imagine our paths will be probably crossing. Kelly, this girl, Raphael, he's all about. I mean, I can't speak for them fully, but like, communal like retreat centers that self-sustain with people that kind of.
Yeah, the only thing you forgot to mention is the dance parties, of course, but I know you also thought about it.
Of course, dance and art and expression is so important, because that's
the water of the soul. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think where you're going is where a lot of Team Rabbit Hole people are going. I imagine people listening to this, it's not to say that everybody go quit your job and abandon your families and go live, go do ayahuasca. But I think basically people are starting to realize, I'm a slave and I get to choose what I'm a slave to. And if it's going to be thriving and preferences that I, things I prefer, and health and love, basically, you're going to have to make, like, in you're into Christianity a little. It's like, Peter, you got to get out of the boat if you want to walk on the water. No one's going to get out of the boat for you, kind of thing, right? Like, you have to follow the white rabbit. You have to take the red pill. No one's going to do that for you. And when people do that, there are people like yourself, I would hope, myself to some degree, but Raphael, all my friends, anybody who's Team Rabbit Hole, I think we're way showers. And that's part of the reason I do this podcast, is because it's reminding me that, I'm going to cry. We're not alone, and we're moving towards a good direction, and we're finding the others, and we're going to make that change real. We're going to be the change we want to see in the world. That's going to come up with conflict, possibly, or static from family or governments or whatever that don't get it, but it's all good, and they're doing their thing. But to see you, basically kicking ass and enjoying yourself, being in a very different place energetically, and allowing that flow from within to come without, as within so without, right? So it's in a very balanced, heavy, good place, and I think you're raising frequencies. You're doing the temperance card thing. You're walking on water. You're doing magic with water. So I'll send you a link to the image of the temperance card, because that is your card as a set.
Please do that.
You might get a new tattoo on your thigh or something. But Yeah, no, I think you've been about what I expected. You're a cool monkey, not to put you down like that. You're a cool individual on this spinning rock, trying to make sense of it in the meat suit. And not everybody can do it how you have done it, but to see that it is possible is inspiring in itself. So I hope people can realize that you don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be a victim. There are moments where you might not be at the highest place vibrationally, but those, the shadows are necessary. And when you kind of transmute those things and come into a higher level of integration, there's real opportunity for basically growth and love. And that's what you're doing. So I appreciate you coming on here, Claudia. Hopefully you didn't get weirded out by any of our questions, but
appreciate you having me.
It's dude, your team rabbit hole. I figured you'd come on here one day. I was playing phone tag with you forever about it, and it's pardon my camera being frozen, but whatever. Raphael, you got any parting thoughts?
Nothing to add. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. Guys, find the others. It's that simple. We're out here. We're all doing it, but we just have to look around and remember.
Find the others. Shine your light and let people see you. Yeah.
That's what Mother Ayahuasca was saying. Step up, shine, or else.
Shine your light. Yeah.
That's what's up. All right, Claudia, thanks for giving us your time and energy. Hopefully our paths cross. And Raphael, thanks for holding the space too.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy yourselves.
Adios.